east side of Manhattan in 1909. Benjamin and Sarah have immigrated to America and opened their own laundry. Sarah knew everything there was to know about opening a successful laundry.
Sarah speaks.
The first laundry we bought was on East 13th Street. It was not a sidewalk entrance like most of the stalls or stores on the block. Customers walked up one step and entered the laundry. Fancy. For 3 years, we had saved every penny we could from our wages. We bought the laundry from a man whose wife had died of tuberculosis and who was returning to Russia. With all our savings, we still owed $500. We borrowed from Yarmolovsky's bank.
I hated the laundry business. It was demeaning, washing strangers' dirty clothes. But Sarah was a laundress, and it seemed right that the laundry business was the business we should buy.
We rented a 3-room apartment above the laundry. A living room, a kitchen, and a bedroom. They didn't even count the bathroom, which we knew was another room. Hot and cold water, an icebox, gas for the stove, for heat and light, and a change box into which we deposited pennies for gas service. Luxury. For this we paid $15 a month rent.
Each morning, I woke, washed, dressed, made a pot of coffee, set it on the stove to stay hot. I made sandwiches, wrapped them in waxed paper, and put them in our lunch pails with a piece of fruit. I took my coffee cup and our lunch downstairs, turned on the irons and dryers and the washers, swept the step outside the laundry, sometimes shoveled the snow away, turned the sign in the window from close to open, and unlocked the door. We were open for business at 6 o'clock, just like that. Good morning, Mrs. Schwartz. How are you today?
Fine, Mr. D. And you?
Well, I have a joke for you this morning. Why does a Jew always answer a question with a question?
Why, Mr. D?
Why not?
Ha! You always make me laugh, Mr. D. See you tomorrow. I stayed in bed till 6:30, at least before we had children. I washed and dressed. In a blouse, skirt, and belt, I looked just like the Yiddish version of the beautiful Gibson girls, except without the beautiful part.
Not so, Sarah. Sarah was the most beautiful woman on all of East 13th Street.
I had to wear comfortable shoes because I was on my feet for at least 10 hours each day, working on a concrete floor. Benjamin bartered a piece of rug for me so I could stand on. From a man on East 14th Street in exchange for some laundering we did for him. Still, my feet hurt all the time.
Sarah would lie on the couch in the living room as I set dinner on the table. Cabbage soup or brisket, potatoes, warmed bread, sometimes even an apple dessert.
Benjamin dinner was wonderful.
After dinner, Sarah would sit with her feet on my lap as I'd rub the circulation back into her arches, ankles, and toes.
Each morning, customers placed their dirty laundry bags on the small counter in front of the laundry. One of the laundresses who worked for us would dump the laundry into a basket behind the counter, count the pieces, mark the count on a piece of paper, drop the paper in the basket, and hand the laundry bag back to the customer.
I took the money. When we first opened the laundry, all we had was a cash drawer under the counter. Then the butcher down the block was robbed. A man reached over the counter, yanked open the cash drawer, ran out with the cash.
So, our first purchase after the laundry equipment was a national cash register. A brass encased register weighing almost 50 pounds with an electric motor. We screwed the corners down to the counter, making it impossible to steal. This amazing invention told us the amount of each transaction, how many customers we served in a day, the total daily cash, the busiest times of the day, and the busiest days of the week. But what I loved about our national cash register was that it made the laundry look so American.
The next big purchase was an electric washing machine. Maytag made them first in 1907. We bought one a year later. It agitated the wash. We had less to do by hand, and the clothes came out cleaner and brighter.
Mornings were the busiest times of the day.
First to come in were the seamstresses on their way to tenement sweatshops. Young, thin, nervous, they dropped their small bundles and rushed away. How was it that seamstresses, who were so poor, could afford to bring their clothes to a laundry? They had to. Their hours were so long, they had no time to wash.
Next were the police and firemen. They slung their laundry bags over their shoulders and dropped them like haunches of meat on the counter.
Mrs. Datlovitsky, it's Officer O'Malley with a load for you, Mrs. O. Mrs. O will pick it up.
With a tip of their hat and a wave of their hand, they were gone.
Next came the teachers, the maids, the nurses, the civil servants, process servers, office boys, stenographers, typists, streetcar workers, blacksmiths, janitors. Mid-morning brought the third shift workers, completing their chores before they slept. Then the wives and mothers and the rare doctor and dentist.
Later in the afternoon, the pattern reversed. The last to pick up were the seamstresses and garment workers, exhausted from their 14-hour days, desperate to get home and rest. I closed the laundry after they picked up at around 8 o'clock. Benjamin had gone upstairs an hour earlier to prepare dinner. I locked up, gathered the money from the cash register, took out what I needed for the next day, and put the rest in a money bag for deposit. I flipped the sign to closed and walked upstairs to Benjamin.
What did I do in the laundry? I picked up and delivered laundry bundles, which I did not mind because it got me out on the street with my three-wheeled pushcart. Picking up and delivering laundry was not as demeaning as some of the other tasks I performed. I washed and ironed the delicates, the silks and fancy shirts. I was ashamed that anyone should see me wash clothes, so I took the delicates up to the apartment to wash them. Then I would bring the delicates down to the laundry and hang them up over on the overhead wooden racks to dry.
What else did Benjamin do? He ironed the shirts. On an ironing table in the back of the laundry store, he would iron most of the afternoon.
Next to me was a laundry basket. Each day it was filled with shirts to iron. 20 shirts, 25 shirts, sometimes more. 25 shirts I'd moan. Why not 35? Why not 55? I hated the laundry business.
I was eating a sandwich in the back of the laundry when Benjamin rushed in.
Sarah, are we evil capitalists oppressing the working class?
I could not believe these words came out of Benjamin's mouth. What are you talking about?
There's a speaker in the park who says that business owners oppress the working class and that workers need to unionize to protect themselves. We're workers, Sarah, aren't we? But we're owners too, yes? Do we oppress?
He sat down on one of the big cartons of starch, looking confused and uncertain. Benjamin, we don't oppress. Not every business owner oppresses. We pay Silvana and Katerina a good wage. They have a half an hour for lunch, and they quit each evening at 6 o'clock in time to get home to cook their dinners. This is not oppression. It's just the way it is in the neighborhood. He shook his head, not in disagreement, but in disbelief.
But you should have heard her in the park, Sarah. She said workers had to strike for better wages. Everyone in the park shouted, "Strike, strike, strike!" Sarah, I started shouting with them, and then I realized I couldn't strike. I owned the business. Are we oppressors, Sarah?
No, Benjamin. The Tsar is an oppressor. The Cossacks are oppressors. We are not oppressors. We've been lucky to work and save and buy a laundry business. We are making money from this business. We are making money, which means our children will not have to live on East 13th Street when they grow up. They will go to school and college and work as teachers and lawyers and doctors. They will have children who could become... I paused. I couldn't even imagine what they could become. Senator? Rabbi? Inventor? A justice of the Supreme Court like Louis Brandeis? A great entertainer like Eddie Cantor? Anything they want to become. Benjamin, everything is possible in America.